the Teaching Display Gardens at the research station in Spooner. Today I want to talk to you about the beautiful creatures that we see flitting around all summer long, the monarch butterfly. They are magnificent. I want to start at the beginning to tell you where they come from and a little bit about their lives. The monarch butterfly begins as an egg. The female puts an egg at the bottom of a milkweed leaf. Tiny, tiny, tiny egg. And that egg stays there for about 3 to 4 days. At the end of that time, out comes a little tiny, tiny caterpillar. It's got green and gold and black, but it's tiny. But it is a very hungry caterpillar. That little guy starts eating and munching on those milkweed leaves. It will last for a long time, probably 10 to 14 days. It just eats. But the problem is, as it grows, the skin gets too tight. So it loses its skin and grows a new skin. And when it gets big again, it loses its skin. And it does that maybe 4 or 5 times, all the time, eating that milkweed and growing, getting very, very fat. At the end of those 14 days, the caterpillar, which is we call it the larva stage, but that caterpillar spins a cocoon, or technically the pupa. And that pupa hangs from a membrane that caterpillar put, and it is a strong, strong membrane. It can go through storms and rain and winds, and it lasts again 10 to 14 days. And at the end of that time, that green cocoon starts turning black. And if you look closely, you can actually see the orange inside as well. And when the time is right, again about 10 to 14 days, that monarch, the actual winged butterfly, emerges. Now it doesn't fly away right away. The first thing it does is hang to let all liquid that drains from the wings. It drips to the ground, and the wings slowly start to move. The adult moves its wings to dry them off because it can't fly when they're wet. And once those wings are dry, off it goes. And that's the life cycle of the monarch. Now, once that monarch butterfly flies away, what does it do? Well, it goes from flower to flower to flower. Now it wants to find the nectar from any flower that it likes. It's almost a sugar kind of they're seeking the sugar, and it helps give them energy, and they can fly, and that is what they do. And in the process, they touch all of those flowers, and they get pollen on them. And they take that pollen from flower to flower and spread it. And that allows those flowers and those plants to create seeds. So they have a very important purpose as a pollinator. Not as efficient as our bees are, but they're still very good at what they do. Now, the one thing about the monarch is it only lives about 2 to 5 weeks. And during that time, it lays 100 to 300 eggs, again on the milkweed plant. Now, why the milkweed plant? The milkweed for the monarch butterfly is a host plant. And that host plant is essential because inside milkweed is a toxin, which is kind of like a poison. It wouldn't be good for us to eat. It would make us pretty sick. But the monarch absolutely needs that because as the caterpillar is eating those milkweed leaves, it has that poison in it. And so a lot of the birds that would normally want to eat that monarch, they don't like it. And they stay away. And that helps the monarch to survive. So all summer long, there are probably 5 batches of monarchs that are born. And each one lives for a portion of that summer. But the last monarchs that are born, probably the 5th generation, they are super monarchs because their role is to get out of Wisconsin before it gets cold. They cannot tolerate that really cold temperature that we get here. So what do? They fly south, way south, all the way to Mexico. And they find these very special trees, they're fir trees, and they hang there in those trees and make this huge orange curtain. And they stay there all winter long, and hopefully it doesn't get below freezing, because if it does, they have to burn some of their fat, and that's not good. Then in the spring, it's time for them to leave, but they don't come all 3,000 plus miles back. They maybe get to Texas, and then again, they start laying their eggs and starting new generations for the next year. And it might take 4 or 5 or 6 generations before we see our first monarch here in Wisconsin in the spring. They are wonderful creatures, and the best thing we can do for them to keep them safe is to plant milkweed, because they will need that milkweed all the way coming back, and once they're here, our gardens can help out by having that milkweed that they absolutely need. And we can also, as gardeners, we can plant flowers that will bloom in the spring, bloom all summer, and bloom into the fall, so they always have that nectar for their energy. So that's a little bit today about the magnificent monarchs.